Good morning, dear. Hope you are all fine. Today we will solve exercise 9, page 108. The question is, draw a triangle KLM such that LM equals 6 cm, angle KLM equal to 50 degrees, and angle KML equal to 70 degrees. We draw it as we used to draw in grade 6. Start by segment LM, which is 6 cm. Now, at vertex L, draw an angle which is 50 degrees, and from the vertex M, draw an angle which is 70 degrees. Then join these two rays together. The point of intersection is called point K. Now, the bisectors of KLM and KML intersect at I. We can either draw it by a protractor. I can say that since KLM equal to 50 degrees, here it's 50, and this is the bisector that cuts the angle into two equal adjacent angles. So this angle here is 25 degrees, and the other angle, which is ILK, equals to 25 degrees. Similarly, KML equal to 70. To draw the bisector, you can draw it by your compass or by using a protractor. The half of 70 is 35, so put the 0 of the protractor here on LM, and at 35, draw the bisector. These two bisectors intersect at point I. Now, it's required to prove that I is equidistant from the two straight lines KL and KM. What do you mean by equidistant? Having the same distance from KL here. I is equidistant from KL and KM. How will we do that? We can say that I is on the bisector of KLM. Okay, this is KLM and I is on the bisector, so I is equidistant from KL and KM, and I is on the bisector of KML, so it's equidistant from KM and LM. Therefore, I is equidistant from KL here and KM. Again, let's think clearly and try to understand it well. They told me that the bisectors KLM and KML intersect at I. What do you mean by bisector? It means here the two angles are equal and any point on the bisector is equidistant. This means that the distance from I to K, the perpendicular one, equals to the distance from I to LM. Okay, this is the first one. The other one, KML. This is KML. This is the bisector. It divides the angle into two equal angles, and I is a point on the bisector, so the perpendicular drawn here, I is equidistant from KM and LM. Equidistant means equal distances, then this one equal to this segment, equal to this segment. So I can say that I is equidistant from KL and KM. Okay, we have to pay attention well. If two segments are equal, then a third segment equal to one of them should be equal to the other. Now, calculate IKL. IKL, I'm talking about this angle here. How to calculate it? Let's now pay attention again to the angles. KLM equal to 50 degrees and LI is the bisector, so each one of them equals to 25 degrees. Now, again, here KML equal to 70 degree, half of 70 is 35. Then KMI equal to IML equal to 35 degrees. Now, to find the angle, we know that the sum of angles in a triangle is 180 degree. So LKM equal to 180 degrees minus 50 minus 70 degrees. Why did I do that? Since the sum of angles in a triangle is 180, we know these two angles 50 and 70 equals to 120. 180 minus 120 equal to 60 degrees. Now we know that LKM equal to 60, but listen carefully. Here in the triangle, MI is the bisector of angle KML and LI is the bisector of KLM. These two bisectors intersect at point I. This means that if I join I to K, IK is the third bisector of the triangle. Okay, it's the third bisector. So what do we mean by bisector? It divides the angle into two equal parts, and we said that LKM equal to 60 degrees. Then what's the half of 60? It's 30 degrees. Then I can say that LKI equal to KIM, this angle here, equal to 60 over 2 equal to 30 degrees. Now, another exercise. These types of exercises need a lot of attention. So, if you please, you can watch this video more than once, and if you have any question directly, you can contact me. Now, exercise 10. Observe the adjacent figure. This is the figure. I is the point of the bisector of X or Y. This is angle XOY or YOX is the same, and this is point I. I is the point on the bisector, so OI is the bisector of angle XOY. This means that YOI equal to IOX. Now show that the triangles OIA and OIB have the same area. OIA, this triangle in blue, and OIB, this triangle in gray. These two should have the same area. How to find the area of the triangle? It's height times base over 2. We know it from grade 5. The area of OIA is the height, which is IH. In this case, it's outside the triangle. Height times base, which is OA, over 2. And the area of triangle OBI is the height, which is IK, times base, which is OB, over 2. IH equal to IK. Why? Since I is the point on the bisector, and any point on the bisector is equidistant from the two sides of the angle. This means that IH equal to IK. And given that OA equal to OB, now here, if IH equal to IK and OA equals to OB, this means that they have the same area. Now how to write? Since I is on the bisector of XOY, then IH is perpendicular, and IH perpendicular to OA given, and IK perpendicular to OB as a line given, I can conclude that IH equal to IK. It's the property that we studied about bisector. And by comparison now, given that OA equals to OB and IH equal to IK, this means that here both areas are equal. Okay, why? Since given that OA equal OB and we proved IH equal to IK, since OI is the bisector of the angle. Okay, this rule here, you should memorize it very well. The area of triangle is height times base over 2 and the height is perpendicular to the base. You have to write these answers on your classwork copybook